Up near Watertown, there was a radio announcer who one day was working and then the next day he wasn't.
In tonight's Eye on KELOLAND, Summer Roddershot brings us his story and fills us in on what his life has looked like since a medical emergency.
You may not have seen his face, but if you listened to KXLG radio in Watertown, you knew his voice.
Jan, that's it for ITC Radio Today. We'll be back tomorrow,
Not tomorrow.
We'll be back sometime.
Jim Aesoph was part of the heart and soul of radio in the area. It was a passion he had since a young age.
We were in Millbank. We were going south on Main Street. We just crossed the railroad tracks, and I sat up from the back seat because I was the back seat person all the time. It just was. And I said something about what was on the air. And the other guy in the front seat, the passenger, turned around and said, "You're going to end up in radio one of these days."
After getting drafted and serving in the Air Force, Jim came back and was looking for a job. While he was announcing at the Casino Speedway, he saw his chance to get into radio.
The radio station owner walked under the announcer's booth, and I said to him, "Hey, Vern, I'm looking for a job in radio," and I said it on a PA. And he turned around and looked at me and said, "Come and see me on Monday."
However, it wasn't till he met a man who would end up changing his life that he would finally be heard across the airwaves.
Bob Bain comes in. He's kind of a young guy, straight hair, and a good man. And he walked by the door of the studios with a piece of radio announcement stuff that he wanted done. So he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, nothing right now." He said, "Can you make a radio commercial?"
The rest was history.
Okay, last call to dial in, 753-5954.
Jim spent around 45 years in radio. Then one day, while he was on air, his world came to a stop when he had a sudden hemorrhagic brain bleed.
I can reenact it if you want. and in the weather today, and I went out, just blank. And the whole story then is known by my wife, Brenda, because she's the one who lived it, where I did not. I didn't live it. I was just there.
They said his brain bleed was in the worst place. They said he would never talk, he would never walk. His life would be horrible if he lives. He said so they didn't even want to put him on life support. And I was like, well, keep my husband alive.
At first, the doctors didn't want to try to keep Jim alive.
It wasn't until Jim's oldest son, Amos, said, "Keep Dad alive." And then the doctor was like, "You sit down, Mom." And he just talked to Amos. And I was like, well, this isn't about me, so it was different. Ventilator and all that. I don't know if it was the next day or somewhere in there. And they started all the life support.
Even when things looked dim, Brenda held on to hope.
I never thought he wouldn't.
Yeah.
I know somebody said, "You don't know if you're making the right decision." It never occurred to me that it wasn't.
So they hooked me up to everything that any human's ever been hooked up to except a milking machine. 83 days later, I started to come around.
Once Jim was able to go home, Brenda had an idea to continue his speech therapy. They called it Face the Sun.
If it's bright, sunshiny, you only need 4 minutes to heal your brain. If it's overcast, you need a half hour. We thought we were going to do it a half hour and did it twice a day for over a year.
She made sure I was out of bed in the morning. And I was, at that point, I wasn't living life. I was just following Brenda around like a little puppy dog. And Brenda would say, "Now tomorrow we're going on at sunrise, so be at the top of the driveway." And we'd go up there and do that.
Face the Sun was streamed on the couple's Facebook Live. Jim's 4 decades of radio experience paid off while hosting the show.
Oh, we'll do birthdays, we'll do weather, and then we're just going to have a whole bunch of fun, too.
Enough people cover politics, and it's not fun. We want it to be more fun because we're so fun. So we wanted that. We would just find unusual, fun news stories and go with that.
While you won't hear Jim on the radio anymore, he is still using his voice. The Aesophs want to inspire others that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and sometimes it helps to face the sun. With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Summer Roddershot.
One fun fact, Jim says, is that he never said his name on radio. He'd find ways for the people around him to say it instead.